Hello students, let's continue with the MCQs. The first MCQ is, a child is standing on the platform of a station watching the trains. A train traveling at 30 meters per second takes 3 seconds to pass a child. What is the length of the train? See, in the figure they have shown a child is standing at the platform and a train is shown there. So just imagine when the train will pass the child, what will be the distance travelled by the train? That will be equal to length of the train. So speed of the train is given 30 meters per second. Time taken to pass the child, time is 3 seconds, and distance travelled to pass the child, while it passes the child, distance travelled by it is equal to length of the train. So using the simple formula, speed is distance upon time, we can find out length of the train is speed into time, that is 30 into 3, so 90 meters. So out of the 4 options which are given here, we can see C option is correct. 90 meter is a correct answer. So our next MCQ is, a cyclist is riding along a road when an animal runs in front of him. The graph shows the cyclist motion. He sees the animal at P, starts to brake at Q and stops at R. So when you look at the graph, it is a speed time graph and we can easily see PQ part. At P he sees the animal and from P to Q it is a straight line inclined to time axis. It is a straight line parallel to time axis, which means that cyclist is moving with uniform speed. At Q he applies the brakes and after Q we can see that it is a straight line inclined to time axis, which means motion is uniformly accelerated motion if we assume that the cyclist is moving along a straight line. Okay. Now QR, what is used to find? What is the question here? What is used to find the distance travelled after he applies the brakes? So here we know that to find out the distance travelled, we always see area under the speed time graph. So to find out the distance travelled after he applies the brakes, we know that distance travelled will be given by area under the QR part of the graph. So if we look at the options, area under line PQ, area under line QR, yes, this is correct. So B option is the correct answer. Now the next MCQ. The graph shows how the speed of a car changes with time. Again we see that it is a speed time graph which represents that the speed is changing. Between which two times is the car stationary? When the car is stationary, we know that the speed becomes 0 and it remains stationary, means speed should remain 0 between, let us say, between which two times. We have to select the correct option. Now before looking at the options, let us look at the graph. We know that speed remains 0 only between x and y. So between x and y, it means D option is correct. There is no need to look at the other options at all. And if you see between u and v speed is changing, okay, and between v and w speed is uniform as it is a straight line parallel to time axis. Between w and x we can say speed is decreasing, and between x and y only speed remains 0, so the correct option is between x and y. A force acts on a moving rubber ball. How many of the following changes could happen to the ball because of the force? A change in direction, a change in shape, a change in mass, a change in speed. You have to choose out of these 4 options. A is 1 change, B 2 changes will take place, C 3 changes and D 4 changes. When we look at these 4 changes, we know that force can change the direction, it can change the shape, it can change the speed, but it cannot change the mass. So third, a change in mass is not possible by the application of force. So only 3 changes are possible. So the correct option is C, 3. Now the next MCQ is, if the net force acting on a body is 0, then it will be A. Necessary at rest, B. Necessarily accelerated, C. May move with constant velocity, and D. May have non-uniform acceleration. We know that when net force acting on the body is 0, it means when F is 0, then from Newton's second law of motion, F is ma, so A will be 0. Means A is what? Acceleration. No acceleration will be produced. It means the body will maintain its state of rest, right? Or if it is moving with some uniform velocity, it will continue to move with the same uniform velocity as per Newton's first law of motion. So necessary at rest is not true because the body may be moving with maybe having uniform motion. It will continue to have its motion along a straight line if no force is acting on it. Necessarily accelerated, not possible as acceleration is 0. May move with constant velocity, yes. So C option is correct. Let us have a look at the D option. May have non-uniform acceleration, no. That is only possible when some variable force is acting on a body. So the acceleration will also be variable, that is non-uniform. So C option is correct here. Our next MCQ is, a tunnel has a length of 50 km. A car takes 20 minutes to travel between the two ends of the tunnel. What is the average speed of the car? You know, we can use the formula for average speed of the car, which is total distance upon total time. So you can take 50 km as a distance traveled divided by 20 minutes. You have to convert this into hours. So 20 divided by 60. Either you can use the formula and do it this way and get the answer. You know, average speed is distance covered in unit time. Okay, but actually average speed concept is used generally when the motion is non-uniform. It means speed is varying. But average speed means if the non-uniform motion is converted into a uniform motion, it means if we consider the same body is in motion but covers the same distance in same interval of time, then with what speed it should move, that is average speed. So it is distance covered in unit time. So if we look at this, that distance traveled is 50 km in 20 minutes, you can also use one more technique to find the answer, that in 40 minutes distance traveled will be 100 km if in 20 minutes it traveled 50 km, and continuing this way in 60 minutes distance traveled will be 150 km. 60 minutes means 1 hour, so distance traveled in 1 hour will be 150 km, and so the average speed will be 150 km per hour. So C option is correct, that is 150 km per hour. So now our next MCQ is, the diagram shows the speed time graph for an object moving at constant speed. If we look at the graph, it is a speed time graph and speed is given here in meter per second and time is in seconds. What is the question here? What is the distance traveled by the object in first 3 seconds? Now look at the graph. Speed time graph is a straight line parallel to time axis. It means it is a case of uniform motion where speed remains constant. And we know that for any kind of motion, to find out the distance traveled, we can find out area under speed time graph between the time interval during which we have supposed to find the distance traveled. So in this case, distance traveled by the object in the first 3 seconds, it means we can see area under the graph between 0 and 3 is rectangular in shape. So area of this rectangular shape is length into breadth. So 2 into 3, 6 meters. So distance traveled by the object in first 3 seconds is 6 meters, and out of the 4 options, D is 6 meters, so D option is correct. So now the last MCQ for today is, a car accelerates from traffic lights. The graph shows how the car speed changes with time. So look at the graph. It is again a speed time graph and speed is in meter per second, time is in seconds. Question is, if we look at the graph, we see that for the first 10 seconds, the speed changes during the first 10 seconds, speed changes from 0 to 20 meter per second, and since the graph is a straight line inclined to time axis, it is a case of uniformly accelerated motion. And after 10 seconds, speed remains constant. It means the body moves with uniform speed. It has uniform motion after 10 seconds. Now let us read the question here. How far does a car travel before it reaches a steady speed? Okay, so the question is, how far does the car travel before it reaches a steady speed? It means within 10 seconds or in 10 seconds, what is the distance traveled by the car? Again, using the same concept as we have used above, we find area under the speed time graph in 10 seconds, and that will give us a distance traveled in 10 seconds. Okay, so area under the graph between 0 and 10 is, we can see, triangular in shape. So using the formula half into base into height, where base is 10 seconds and height is 20 meter per second. So half into 10, that is 5, 5 into height, that is 20. So 5 into 20 or half into base into height here gives us 100 meters. Half into 10 into 20, that is 200 by 2, that is 100 meter. So distance traveled by the car before it reaches a steady speed is 100 meters. So C option is correct. Hope students you have understood all the MCQs. We'll continue with practicing MCQs in the next video. Goodbye students.